I had a shotgun pointed at the guy's head. How he not die?
Solve this problem for both renters and landlords, right? Because even though you have an eviction moratorium, renters are actually just building a debt. To your point, the landlords are building a debt. And then the eviction moratorium ends in January, and nobody wants to see hundreds of thousands or millions of people left out to dry. And so what we realized is that there's about $45 billion literally trapped in security deposits, sitting there just doing nothing. Right? This is the money that landlords take when you move into an apartment to protect you against damages. Now, for the last couple of years, we've been working on this from the private sector, thinking about
Yuckman!
More affordable by maybe replacing cash deposits.
Yakatoshi.
Right, so think when you rent a car, you don't get insurance for $10,000 in case you get into an accident. You get renters insurance for $5, $6, $7 a month. Same concept with housing. We're saying, hey,
so if we look at the stats right now, 5.9% occupied without paying rent, 75.3% were currently caught up on rent payments, 18.3% not currently caught up with rent. Just so I understand, you're
enemy long right. Hits down.
The security deposits for that 18.3% for 25% of people. The security deposits get back to them so that they can move on, and then they start paying this low-cost rent.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, we put an average of $1,400 back in people's pockets a day.
I want to play this goes back to the beginning. This was a chef we had on yesterday about reopening. Take a listen.
Yeah.
Every single time they close, the cases continue to go up in that 2 to 3 week phase. So obviously, something.
Dang! Oh, about to get mad kills just now!
Securing politicians seem so interested in closing restaurants when we point out the science isn't on their side.
Look, at the beginning of this pandemic, there was a lot of uncertainty unknowns, and there was some evidence that this might be spreading indoors. At the end of the day, though, we've got to be a little practical with common sense solutions, something you talked a lot about also on the show. And I think right now, data is showing that the regulations we put for indoor dining are working. And prior to those regulations,
there was a fascinating piece on FoxBusiness.com. I suspect we're going to be hearing a lot more from you, young man. We appreciate it.
thanks for having me.
11 emulations, alright.
Leland, an upscale California restaurant now faces backlash.
12.
Beverly Hills is being accused of trying to skirt the state's coronavirus restrictions by leaving invitations to a, quote, discreet New Year's Eve dinner inside or indoor and outdoor dining in California. So far, the restaurant has not publicly responded to the allegations.
It's not one yet. Keep it tight.
New York City police say they need more help. 6 people who are suspected of committing a hate crime.
No, they took B. They took Bravo. Go, 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 go.
Move on my waypoint. Driving on 16.
Who's USAA made for? It's made for this guy. And it's made for she's deaf. We make all branches and all ranks.
Losing C.
Serve one tour or data career.
Securing
We also
Bravo.
make USAA for military spouses and their kids. USAA is easy to work with. It can save you money on auto, home, and renters insurance. Become a member today. Call us for
Securing A.
USAA. Which are made of
Bravo lockdown. We're losing the advantage.
Jeep is more than a legendary SUV brand. It's a community. We share a love of adventure. We share a spirit. And we share a beliefs with you. One of our own. Because that's exactly what you are. Fully priced at the Jeep Big Finish event.
Talk down.
fully priced for all. Average $4,712 bonus. Plus $750 bonus cash. 2021 Cherokee.
Switching sides.
I'm in a community of people that have my back.
Oh, he think he's better than me? Nah, I'm about to prove them all.
Alright, take it to a left.
I'm just a beginner, but alongside these guys,
Seize the objective.
no better place than right here.
Shush, Spider.
Show you guys we are try.
Taking A.
And just hand. It's a new world of experience. At your
Securing B. Let's go. A lockdown.
Nordic Track, the home of
Enemy has Charlie.
personal training.
You are wrong.
Can you believe this?
B lockdown.
Turn 40. Let me guess. Let's interview. Let's go. Yeah. It's not your fault. It happens to everybody.
No one asked for your 2 cents, woman.
So what did you do?
We've got eugenics total T. They're getting close. 2, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1. This is unique, man. Powered by Cassie. Enemy has B.
Continue to
Losing
live
A.
TV.
He appears
You're
KIA.
shifted back in viewing time. If you continue, you will
Charlie,
be
locked
notified
down.
and return to live TV. Do you want to continue? Continue. Button 1 of 2. Press right to review. Press OK to select.
Eugenics
8, 7.
That incinerator F.
Losing Charlie.
Who's Kiana?
Back in shape.
Continue to live TV. You're shifted back in viewing time. If you continue,
What?
just spot and return to live TV. Do you want to continue? Continue. Button 1 of 2. Press right to review. Press OK to
Taking
select.
B.
Grounded and fast. Walking without access.
Ow!
By trying an epic time.
8,
Guy punched me in the...
7.
Evil, how the specter of communism.
Continue to live TV. You're shifted back in viewing time. If you continue, you'll lose your spot and return to live
RCXD
TV.
in your
Do
AO.
you want to continue? Continue. Button 1 of 2. Press right to
C4 going
review.
up.
Press OK to select.
Our time
Losing C.
living longer is possible and proven in postmenopausal women taking Kisqali plus fulvestrant. In a clinical trial, Kisqali plus fulvestrant helped women live longer. HR positive HER2 metastatic breast cancer, and it significantly delayed disease progression. Kisqali can cause lung problems
Enemy
or
care
heart
package.
6, 57.
cause serious
RCXD in your AO.
Continue to live TV. You're shifted back in viewing time. If you continue, you'll lose your spot and return to live TV. Do you want to continue? Continue. Button 1 of 2. Press right to review. Press OK to select.
bleeding, bruising, fever,
They're good.
chills, or other
Enemy
Continue
sentry
to live
turret
TV.
detected in your AO.
Continue.
Securing B.
Ask your doctor and
RCXD ready to deploy.
Continue to live TV. Minute guide 1:44 p.m. Press A for guide option. Now playing for reach the carrier GPS
Taking
1
Alpha.
p.m. 15 Channel 200 CNN HD.
No, I don't.
Check out this
Hostile care
ad
package
from
inbound.
David Perdue's campaign.
Senator Perdue never gave up.
Bravo secure.
Perdue again delivered real, meaningful help for Georgians.
0.
I was not eating peanut M&Ms for the last time. I was eating regular M&Ms.
Hostile spy plane established.
Jeez.
1:29 to 3:02 p.m. Upgrade to our channel? Your current subscription package doesn't include this channel. To upgrade and start press the OK button on your remote. Upgrade. Button 1 of 2. Press right to review. Press OK to select.
Sentry turret functioning.
Copy that.
Yes. I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking. I was joking.
Securing A.
Channel 608. Send. Are we ready now? 1 Channel 620. MCLES. Undercover brother.
Losing B.
Rated PG-13. 1:34
A
to
secure.
3:02 p.m. Upgrade to our channel? Your current subscription package doesn't include
Enemy
this
has
channel.
now.
To upgrade and start
Watch for hostile
now,
spy plane.
press the button on your remote.
Enemy
Upgrade.
sentry turret
Button 1 of
detected
2.
in your AO.
Press right to review.
Desperate times
Press
mean
OK to
desperate
select.
measures. We have to take this. Driving RCXD. Enemy RCXD detected. Enemy sentry turret detected in your AO.
Suck a butthole.
Basta. DGI full back to exfil locations.
2,
This
0.
isn't how it was supposed to go down.
Channel not reading. 1 o'clock.
Excuse me. I'm not gay.
These pardons are utterly disgraceful. And these are folks that committed serious felonies. No ordinary American could have gotten these pardons, and they all got them because they were friends of Donald Trump. It's one reason the American people fired Donald Trump, because he repeatedly put himself and his friends above our country.
We actually had the show yesterday from California Congressman Ted Lieu on President Trump's recent pardons, and that included Roger Stone and Paul Manafort, and then others, in fact, caught up in the Mueller-Russia probe, as well as some allies from Congress and Jared Kushner's father. Joining me now, Melissa Murray, professor of law at NYU Law School. Melissa, always glad to talk with you. First of all, could any ordinary American have gotten these pardons?
Well, typically, the process for a pardon requires that goes to the Department of Justice and their pardon department. And those pardon requests are thoroughly vetted by DOJ lawyers and then submitted with a recommendation from the DOJ to the president. That was not the case in this particular circumstance. It has been said that around 88% of the pardons that President Trump has issued during his presidency have actually gone outside of this ordinary process. So to that extent, these are people who are very close, who have access to the president. These are not people who are seeking pardons through the ordinary course.
Okay. It's not just Democrats like Ted Lieu criticizing the president. In fact, here's what Senator Pat Toomey said this morning about some of the pardons.
Some of these other cases, I mean, my goodness, we have tax fraud and bank fraud, witness tampering, obstruction of justice, but because they were close to the president, they got pardoned. This is unfortunately reminiscent of the Mark Rich pardon by President Clinton. It is legal, it is constitutional.
I miss Miss Wendy.
Misuse of the power.
That last part there, a misuse of the power, what's your response to that?
I wish we could have that freaking high school reunion, man. Class of 2017, man.
But what we have seen under the course of ordinary presidencies is that presidents have used the pardon power to advance their own policy goals. So, for example, Jimmy Carter.
To be honest, I'm still mad that I didn't get to go to Trump. Derek, you already know this. I said it like 2 times already.
And Barack Obama used his pardon power to pardon nonviolent drug offenders. So in some cases, those pardon powers are used to advance particular policy goals of an administration. Here,
you ass.
It seems that the goal is to pardon those close to the president who may have reasons to be close to the president for reasons that we...
Channel 202, FNCHD News, America's news headquarters. Not rated.
No, duh.
Team restaurant workers who are having such a hard time. Join us now to see Markets Todd Schmidt. Good to see you, sir, from a market in St. Louis, Missouri. As I understand it,
you never see me dance, so shush.
going up.
No, you have not.
To 14,000 of your teammates.
No, you haven't.
It's got $15. Some of the restaurants may consider this a competitor of the supermarket. Why'd you do it?
Well, thank you. Good afternoon. We're a family-owned business. We've been in business for 81 years, and we often talk about being a company of families. And in this case, we thought about our food family, and broader than just our own business. We thought about those that add such vibrancy to our communities, restaurants and restaurant workers. And so we thought it was really a win-win kind of situation. We do thank our teammates who have been working so hard, this year through the whole pandemic, while paying it forward to a degree, and providing gift cards for our teammates that they can use at a restaurant within 5 miles of their work location. And we just thought it was, as I said, a real win-win.
I can just imagine the reaction of some of these restaurants that have been having just such a brutal time trying to get through this. And the the mom and pop owners. I know St. Louis has such a great restaurant industry. So many single establishment, two establishment kind of businesses. What was the reaction as you guys were calling up saying we're buying thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars for gift cards for folks?
Well, Andy DeCou, who was the individual on our team that organized the whole thing, relayed that many of the restaurants that they talked to, the owners were in stunned silence, and a couple were brought to tears. One in particular said, I'm working on my budget for January right now, and I didn't know how I was going to pay my rent. And now with this check,
that really isn't.
Pay my rent for January.
So George Bush is shooting rockets?
Employed as well. What a remarkable thing. What's the response from your teammates?
You know, it's been amazing. They love getting the gift cards and stuff. What they really liked was that they could help by using that, they're helping others. And our mission as a company is to nourish people's lives.
Oh, to freedom!
Customers, but it's taking care of our teammates and it's taking care of our communities. And so they really saw this as a way that we were giving money I profess.
I'm looking at the video on the side of our screen. That is the show. Enemy care package. Special bed. Now, special as well. That's for you guys as well. Grocery stores have had a great year, but your costs have been going up in a low margin business. You're trying to keep people healthy and safe, especially your employees as they're working through this. $200,000 is a lot of money, isn't it?
$200,000 is a lot, but it's it is important to be able to help those that are really struggling. Frankly, the supermarkets have been.
Let's get muscly.
People eating at home, restaurants, so it was good for us to take some of that and help out those that are struggling.
Well, Mr. Shrupp, congratulations, third generation, carrying on a wonderful tradition.
Call of Duty!
It's good to see you, sir. All the best.
Thank you very much. Happy New Year to you.
Thank you as well and your family. Congratulations. Alicia?
What a wonderful story. What a wonderful company. There is a major development in Nashville. Law enforcement.
That's the last time that guy's gonna do that to me.
Christmas Day bombing. The suspect's name
Wasted.
next.
Jeep is more than a legendary SUV brand. It's a community. We share a love of adventure. We share a spirit. And now we're sharing our employee price. Treating you like one of our own. Because that's exactly what you are. Employee price and a Jeep Big Finish event.
With employee pricing for all, get an average $4,712 below MSRP, plus $750 bonus cash in the 2021 Cherokee.
Time for a shotgun, because this guy, I think I'm messing around. No, I ain't messing around now. Ah!
Hostile spy plane established overhead, including all our holiday channels. And you'll only find it all right here. Get a great offer right now at SiriusXM.com. Discover what SiriusXM has waiting for you.
I'm the one with the most kills right now. Let's go.
Food is life. So when she moved in with us, a new kitchen.
Throwing C4.
Financial plan.
Multiple hostile sentry turrets. Mark your AO. Artillery targeting detected.
Yes.
So we have provided grants for more than 11,000 warriors to help them meet critical needs. Please give to those who gave so much for us. Please go to woundedwarriorproject.org today.
Prescription skincare delivered straight to your door.
first seeing results, I got excited. I love pretty good. It makes me feel a lot more confident. The thing that are the simplicity, reality, and the fact that it works.
Let me ask you a question. Do you want to get a little healthier, maybe lose some weight?
Lose up to 18 pounds in your first 2 months. Lose weight fast. Money back guaranteed.
You'll get your favorite foods made healthier and perfectly balanced. Put your body in fat-burning mode.
The food is delivered to your door. It's so simple.
When I saw that box at my door, I was so motivated.
Nutrisystem works for me better than anything else ever could.
Lose weight and learn how to keep it off.
Order right now. Get 50% off a month of meals and 50% off a month of shakes with probiotics to ensure your immunity. Act now and get 50% off a month of delicious meals and shakes delivered to your door.
You could have a whole new life ahead of you. Just call now or...
But he acts like one.
Still wait.
Go online or call 888-763-56 to save 50% on a month of food and shakes.
Enemy saboteur detected in your headlines. 2 law enforcement sources now telling
1, I'm not a faggot. 2, I ain't gay. 3, I'm not queer. 4,
Federal and local law enforcement are still working to determine a motive behind the blast. Meanwhile, millions of Americans will see a lapse in additional unemployment benefits. The payment expired yesterday as the latest coronavirus relief bill. President Trump is still calling on lawmakers to increase stimulus checks to $2,000 before he signs the bill.
oh my god, I just killed myself by accident.
Enemy napalm strike internationally, both as Lee and Luke Harper was famous for his ugly beard and stints with All American Wrestling and the WWE. His wife on Instagram said he died after a lung issue not related to COVID. Huber was 41 years old.
41?
It's
All
absolutely
HVA
beautiful up there.
operators retreat.
It always
That's a
is
hard
in the
fail.
mountains. And the little snow in Denver.
No, we had a warm Christmas. T-shirts and shorts. It's actually
One thing, when I lived in Denver, it was true then for now, just 20 minutes, the weather will change. You'll have a warm Christmas and a warm New Year's. So not a bad way to start things off.
They are.
All right, Fox News Sunday's up next. My friend Mike Emanuel in for Mr. Sunday himself, Chris Wallace. Mike Emanuel in for Chris Wallace. Relief for millions of
I ain't no pig.
Americans in jeopardy as President Trump suddenly objects to the bipartisan COVID deal.
It really is a disgrace. The outgoing president's demand to increase the aid checks for American families sending Congress scrambling, testing the legions of Republicans, and potentially leading to a government shutdown. As the president grants dozens
Yucky,
of
what is
pardons to
wrong with
longtime
you?
allies and associates, and continues to contest the results of the election. We'll discuss it all with Republican Senator Pat Toomey only on Fox News Sunday. Then,
our darkest days of the battle against COVID are ahead of us, not behind us.
concerns about new, more contagious strains of the virus and increased tension over who's next in line for the vaccine as millions of Americans travel this holiday despite health warnings. We're joined by Evan Redjawa of the White House Coronavirus Task Force. Plus, we're going to keep fighting until every...
Wait, what, Yucky?
The president's focus on overturning Joe Biden's victory.
Yes, I heard you! Jeez.
All right now.
Shut the fuck up.
And hello again, and Happy New Year from Fox News in Washington. A Christmas holiday season
Yo, Gay Grant will be on the phone when
Americans
he comes back.
isolated by COVID precautions and looking for an economic boost now face more uncertainty. The president in Florida, after throwing a wrench into relief proceedings. In Washington, time is running out, and tomorrow should be one of the most consequential days of the congressional year. The House is scheduled to $2,000 direct payments to some Americans, although it will likely die in the Republican
Dude, move out the way!
The country also facing a looming shutdown in the middle of the pandemic, which is
Oh my god.
people in this country. In a moment, We'll speak with Republican Senator Pat Toomey of Pennsylvania. But first, let's bring in Mark Meredith with the latest from the president's Mar-a-Lago retreat in Florida. Mark?
Mar-a-Lago.
Mike, lawmakers from both parties are pleading with the president to sign the stimulus and funding bill already in front of him, all in an effort to prevent a government shutdown and to keep pandemic assistance alive for millions of Americans.
This weekend, President Trump doubled down on demands Congress rewrite the stimulus package, tweeting overnight, 2,000 plus other family members, not 600. Remember, it was China's fault. On Christmas Eve, Democrats tried to amend the $900 billion bill and increase direct payments, but House Republicans blocked the effort. With both the stimulus and $1.4 trillion government funding bill in limbo, Democrats and consequences of inaction could be dire.
People are scared. People are desperate.
On Saturday, enhanced unemployment benefits.
No, I needed that.
President-elect Joe Biden urging the president to sign the deal already worked out to make sure millions of Americans live with this holiday season. As Biden weighs his final cabinet picks, President Trump is demanding Congress not certify the November election, with lawmakers meet for a joint session in early January.
Thank you all for being here.
Meantime, the White House says the president is receiving constant updates on the ongoing investigation into the Christmas Day explosion in Nashville. The FBI, who's leading the investigation, believes the blast was intentional.
Ah! Really? I got stunned.
Tennessee's congressional delegation sent a letter to the president urging him to support that assistance, with officials saying that there is so much help needed not only from the state national, but from local businesses as well. Mike?
Target down.
Joining us from Pennsylvania, Republican Senator Pat Toomey. Senator, welcome back. Enhanced unemployment benefits.
What kind of Republican are you?
Shut down midnight Monday night. Senator, do you disagree with some of the provisions of this massive funding package?
Well, because you don't get everything you want, even if you're the president of the United States. We have two legislative bodies, and Democrats control one, Republicans the other. Look, if it were just the freestanding government funding bill, I would certainly be voting against that. But I think the COVID relief measures are really, really important. And, you know, in my state, as in many other states, we have governors who are closing down businesses again. People are out of work, certainly through no fault of their own. I think we need the extended unemployment benefits. I think we need another round of the PPP loans, which really grants to small businesses to keep their workforce, you know, part of their business. And time's running out, so I understand the president would like to send bigger checks to everybody. I think what he ought to do is sign this bill and make the case. Congress can pass another bill. I agree with $2,000 checks to people.
They ain't gonna pass another bill. They ain't gonna pass another. He know it and you know it too.
But the president's free to agree with that. And they ain't
gonna pass no bill while he in that.
Administration helped negotiate. I think we ought to get that done.
After spending some time with President Donald Trump, today I am facing more determined than ever to increase stimulus payments to $2,000 per person and challenge Section 230 big tech liability protection. Both are reasonable demands. Do you worry we're heading for a government shutdown, sir?
I really don't know. I think the president has not actually explicitly said he's going to veto this bill. I think that is a hopeful sign. I think as he leaves office, he will, I understand he wants to be remembered for advocating for big checks, but the danger is he'll be remembered for chaos and misery and erratic behavior if he allows this to expire. So I think the best thing, as I say, sign this and then make the case for the central legislation.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is going to hold a floor vote on the $2,000 stimulus item President Trump has requested. Put on the record, how can Republicans vote against more aid when millions of Americans are still unemployed through no fault of their own?
Yeah, because it's terribly unfunded, right? Well, why would we be sending people with a six-figure income who had no suspension, no reduction of their income at all? Consider the millions of federal employees never miss probably somewhat diminished. Savings rate went through the roof. Why would we be sending several $1,000s to these folks? This money isn't sitting on the shelf. We're going to print it or we're going to borrow it.
Yeah, damn money.
And I think that the aid should be much, much more targeted. It should be targeted to people who've actually lost.
Ah, this is war!
Those are very real categories. The numbers are significant. That's where the aid should go, not to people.
Why is he sending money over to some other country?
President Trump pardoned some campaign aides, former GOP congressman, his son-in-law Jared Kushner's father, former Blackwater security operatives. Your colleague, Senator Ben Sass, saying, quote, "This is rotten to the core." While the president certainly has the power, do you disagree with how he's using it?
In some cases, the case of Mike Flynn, for instance, was completely legitimate to pardon him because the prosecution was a abuse of power. I don't think Michael Flynn ever committed a crime. But some of these other cases, I mean, my goodness, we have tax fraud, bank fraud, witness tampering, obstruction of justice. But because they were close to the president, they got pardoned. This is unfortunately reminiscent of the Mark Rich pardon by President Clinton. It is
Some are suggesting it is time to reform presidential pardon powers.
It's a good discussion to have, but it's well, this is obviously a constitutional power. So I don't know how we would do it without amending the Constitution. And
do you anticipate
We'll remember this defeat.
I don't know what to anticipate this president.
Today is out.
The outcome of the 2020 presidential contest, do you have concerns about it hurting Republicans in Georgia, where those critical runoffs will decide the Senate majority?
Well, I think the president should accept the outcome of the election. He had every right to challenge these votes. He had every right to recount and litigate. He has done all of those things. In my state of Pennsylvania, he's drawn conservative Republican judges who dismissed these cases for a lack of any credible evidence. In the case of Georgia, I think the reason we're going to win is we have better candidates. I think that's just an objective fact. Better candidates and people who better reflect the wishes of the people of Georgia, in Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue, two terrific senators. So I'm still cautiously optimistic about Georgia.
What are the stakes there in Georgia in terms of what's the big difference between a Senate led by Majority Leader Mitch McConnell or perhaps a Majority Leader Chuck Schumer?
Well, the difference is if Republicans hold the Senate, then legislation will necessarily reflect broad compromise because both parties will have some say and neither party will be able to simply run off at will. If Republicans were to lose both Senate races in Georgia, then the Democrats will have complete control of the elected government. And I'm afraid that much of that party has been taken over by this radical woke left and a very liberal agenda, openly advocating socialism, calling themselves socialists, advocating for the elimination of police departments. I mean, just all kinds of crazy policies. And there will be no check on those policies except whatever they choose to however they choose to limit themselves, and that's not very reassuring. So I think for the sake of some balance and some consensus government, it's really important that Republicans hold on to the Senate.
Back to the 2020 presidential contest. Front and center is the president's fight. Your state of Pennsylvania, the president's campaign has asked the Supreme Court to throw out 3 state Supreme Court rulings on mail-in ballots and asking that the General Assembly be allowed to pick its own slate of electors. Even if it doesn't overturn the entire election, is that argument valid?
So again, it gets complicated. The Pennsylvania State Supreme Court, sadly, is a rogue court where Democrats have decided to be extremely political and disregard the law. That's a fact. And one of the examples is we have a statute that says in order to be counted, ballots have to arrive by 8 o'clock on election day. It's black and white. It's very easy to read. That's what the law says. And then the Pennsylvania Supreme Court came along and said, we'll disregard that and allow votes to be counted roughly 3 days after that. They have no legal authority to do that. It's outrageous. But here's the important point, Mike. It's fewer than 10,000 votes. President Trump lost Pennsylvania by over 80,000 votes. So even though that was a very bad decision, I think it should be overturned by the U.S. Supreme Court. It wouldn't have changed the outcome of the election, and that's something we have to recognize.
You're not running again in 2022, but what are your concerns looking forward about elections in your home state? At least the president's supporters think this election was a disaster.
Well, I think there are some lessons we should learn. There are some changes we should make. We should overturn these completely illegal Pennsylvania State Supreme Court rules. I, for one, think it's perfectly okay for us to go back to the rules we had before the pandemic, where the vast majority of people voted in person. That served us for, I don't know, over 200 years. It probably still works. If you really can't make it to the polls on Wednesday, maybe that's a new ballot. But I think that would make all the sense in the world to go back to that system. It's easier to monitor, it's easier to verify, and people would have more confidence in it.
President Trump waited until the final hour on Wednesday to veto the National Defense Authorization Act, which you voted in favor of. The defense bill affirms 3% pay raises for U.S. troops and authorizes more than $740 billion in military programs and construction. Do you have the votes to override President Trump's veto?
Well, I think we'll find out pretty soon. This legislation has been passed by Congress every year for, I think, about 60 years running. It's been signed by presidents. I think it does put the right priorities behind our defense policy, and it passed both houses with overwhelming votes. But we'll see. That's why you have to vote.
Senator Toomey, thank you. Thanks for joining us this Christmas holiday weekend. I'll see you back on the Hill. Up next, we'll bring in our Sunday group to discuss the president's actions in the final stretch of his days in office.
Is secure. Enemy spy plane inbound.
We all have seasons in our lives where something takes us to a place where we need to ask for help. And that's what food banks are here for. Walmart would partner with us. And he said, absolutely, let's figure out how to get this done.
When you start working in an area and you're out in the store in a community, you see the need. What's the hard point? It's the right thing to do.
With COVID-19, having good health insurance is more important than ever. But liberals in Washington are pushing a president-run healthcare system that could take away the health insurance. Right now, the coverage I earned and left with few choices, then tax cuts on middle-class families like mine. Even worse, their healthcare plan put hospitals at risk of shutting. Their scheme would be a disaster. Call Congress today and tell them to take their hands off our
This season, Kia's got great deals on our new line of new vehicles built to help you take on winter. Stop by your local Kia dealer and discover cars and SUVs loaded with advanced tech and safety features, all with our legendary reliability. So this year, you won't just plus 1,000 holiday bonus cash or 2,500 customer cash on the 2021 Sport Charger.
There's never been a better time to experience SiriusXM. Exclusive channels, every kind of music, including all our holiday channels.
Hardpoint identified.
Only find it all here.
Hostiles have the hardpoint.
Right now, SiriusXM.
Threat neutralized.
Discover what SiriusXM has waiting for you. The Shark Vac Mop. The all-in-one disposable pad that vacuums up debris other pads push around. Then it spray mops tough messes. Just vacuum, then spray, and toss. The Shark Vac Mop. This is the Jones family.
We have a good deal on our wireless line.
Are you sure? Spectrum
Drone
Mobile
C4.
can do better. How many minutes do you have? 4. And how much data do you use?
Grab an email and text, but these two share and stream tons of videos.
And how much are you paying per month? Don't forget those added taxes and fees and surcharges.
Okay, $200.
Spectrum Mobile lets you customize your plans. You and your and your wife and daughter can be on our unlimited data plan.
Hardpoint
All for
located.
$118 per
Hostiles
month
have the
with no
hardpoint.
taxes and fees.
Hostile sentry turret
Spectrum Mobile
active.
have the best data plans for your family. All plans include unlimited talk and text with no contracts. See? I told you could save within minutes. Now it's your
ain't on the president. Y'all so stupid.
Members of both parties in the House expressing serious frustration over the COVID relief package that the president is now threatening not to sign. And it's time now for our Sunday group. Jason Riley of the Wall Street Journal, pollster and Fox News contributor Preston Soltis Anderson, and former DNC chair Donna Brazil. Welcome. Thank you. It doesn't look like Republicans are going to go along with President Trump's demand of $2,000 stimulus checks. Jason, are we heading for a government shutdown?
Yep. Yep.
I don't know if we're headed for a shutdown, Mike. I do think that Republicans, however, feel like the president's really pulled out the last minute here.
They pull the rug out from under him.
Democrats don't spend enough money.
That shit back.
They elect them because they want some fiscal
Headed to casualty evacuation point.
And president's own negotiator, Treasury Secretary negotiating with state for a $600 payment. I understand the president wanting to give people more money. I think the president is right now so much as they need for businesses to reopen, for the economy to get back up to speed. And these lockdowns are the problem, not the fact that checks are supposedly too small. People need to get back to work. And to the extent that some of the unemployment insurance relief supplements in this bill are too high, they will be a disincentive for people to go back to work if they can be paid more to not work. So we have to worry about that as well.
To be clear, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi initially accepted the $600 stimulus payment. Donna, did she cut a bad deal?
Absolutely not. Look, since the spring of 2020, the Speaker and Democrats have been trying to give the American people relief. We know that this virus is not going to disappear overnight. And what the House Democrats, along with those in the Senate, tried to do was to negotiate a fair deal, something that will help the American people.
How come your own mention that woman trying to send that money overseas?
That the federal government will provide to the states in addition to what they will receive. It's a lifeline to people getting back on their feet. Many of these workers who have lost their jobs, they've lost their health care, they're struggling to make ends meet. And at a time when they're trying to stay in their apartments or pay their mortgage, all they
with
want
$600?
So I agree with the President-elect Joe Biden. It's an abdication of President Trump's responsibility not to sign this bill and not to allow the government to continue to operate.
House lawmakers return tomorrow to start the process of trying to override President Trump's veto of the National Defense Authorization. How awkward is this for the GOP to be clashing with the president on defense and stimulus?
It's putting a lot of Republicans in a very tough spot because some of the
Go fudge yourself.
are also those who would say we need to be giving a lot of funding to our defense, we should not be allowing this to lapse, and so it's putting them in a very tough spot. What I think is sort of ironic is that on one hand, the president is right to complain about the fact that these bills are enormous, but things like the stimulus bill or the COVID relief bill, that they are enormous bills full of tons of stuff, and yet at the same time the president is calling to add a tech policy piece to a military bill. So it's asking to add something to a bill where it'd be better if it was just kept clean about what the bill should be about, which is our military and our nation's defenses.
I haven't talked to John in that long, so I don't. What you mean? I still talk to him?
To the end of the year, whether it's 2012, fiscal cliff, 2018, with the government we faced there, it always seems like the holidays are the time for Congress to really struggle to be able to do its job properly.
No doubt about that. We expect Republicans to stick together and override the veto. And what about Section 230 concerns, Jason?
I do expect Republicans to stick together. I think they will have to deal if, in fact, the president pushes them to do so. I understand the president's concerns about Section 230. I don't think this way to patch that out, however. I think that needs to be done separately.
To presidential pardons, there was controversy when Bill Clinton pardoned Mark Rich and Patty Hearst. So this isn't new, but Donna, is it time to reform pardon power?
Well, as Senator Toomey said, these constitutional powers are going to be difficult, but he undermines the rule of law. He makes our justice system look so small when he basically rewards those who have been convicted of crimes. Still charities, but this is the president
can throw in as much chaos as he departs Washington than we saw when he first arrived.
Losing Charlie.
Well, there's no indication this is the end of President Trump granting pardons. We've heard names like Julian Assange, Giuliani, Steve Bannon. Kristen, what are your expectations?
While I expect there to be more pardons, I think it's a real shame to see the way the power is being used in many
Shut your pie hole.
about the president's actions on criminal justice, where he was taking those who had been charged with crimes that were very small, sentenced to absolutely
He's gonna pardon the Democrats. They got crime. You don't want to fix it. Rick. How about the one with Rick the election?
Taking seat.
who are effectively innocent and punished falsely not to use it to pardon their political allies. It's simply wrong.
Donna, what are your expectations over the next couple of days? We've got the override vote on the NDAA. We've got the vote on the House floor about the $2,000 payments. Probably not going to go anywhere in the Republican-led Senate. What are your expectations?
Oh, your mama go get my
Oh my gosh.
Responsibility of Congress to return to Washington, D.C. and to try to get as much done, especially now. The stimulus is absolutely needed. This is not the time to allow the government to shut down. And look, I understand.
Granny, I'm gonna go get it. You rushing for what?
Get cold at 3 o'clock, y'all.
I know it's going at 3 o'clock. I'm just trying to finish this real quick.
Transfer of power.
Jeez.
Perhaps more prudent for him right now
Charlie, secure.
to think about his legacy and not throw any more chaos into the room.
Jason, looking ahead, what do you expect this week?
It is.
How awkward is it for Republicans to be battling with a president from their own party?
Well, Republicans, I think, are used to this. This president has been pretty unpredictable from day one. So, I mean, it's
Derek, you're wrong about that.
He pulled this again right at the end, but not entirely. So it's pretty much in character. I'll also say about the pardon.
Enemy spy plane down.
Some of them are punch.
That's what I'm doing.
At least in terms of what the Washington crowd does, I don't find particularly controversial. When you look at people like Paul Manafort or Roger Stone, these are people who were only prosecuted because Robert Mueller thought he could flip them in the Russia investigation. And the Russia investigation
Sprite to get out of my head.
is a huge waste of time. And I see no problem with the president doing this for people who stayed loyal to him during an investigation that shouldn't have taken place in the first place. So, yeah, some of the pardon